Two, one. All right, guys, welcome back for another uh, video by me, Sal Cosentino. Um, I'm your system architect and trainer. I've been in the IT field for a long time. I've worked for a lot of projects. I've taught a lot of people, and I've dealt with a lot of different infrastructures and networks and applications, especially in large and small and medium companies. So um, we tend to remember a specific thing um, by visualization or by talking or by speaking or just by texting or by teaching. So I'm here today to teach you guys you know how to set up your new this just came out about 5 days ago. Set up a new Windows 11 24H2 within our Hyper-V environment, right? So when we're looking at um, our systems, I know we have a laptop, or we have a desktop, or we have something that's in our hands that's physical, where we're able to, uh, open up a web browser and install an application and whatnot. Hyper-V, again, it is different. It stands for hypervisor, right? Hyper-V is a type 2 hypervisor that we're going to be using in our lab, right? So there's a type 1 and a type 2, and I'll kind of explain that to you as we move along. So we in other videos, um, you know, together we'll be using that Hyper 2 software called Workstation Pro, right? So here, let me. So we have our Hypervisor 1 or Hypervisor 2. Again, what is that? Microsoft original product that's used. Um, so together we'll be using this Hypervisor 2 software, and this Hypervisor 2 software is by VMware. I'm sure you guys see me use it before. It's hosting my workstation, right? And it's hosting my server, and it's hosting the hypervisor with the and it's host and within the hypervisor it's hosting the virtual machines that we're going to be creating, right? So I'm going to delete both of these, right? I'm going to just delete them, and we're going to start from scratch. um my machine here, I designed. If we look at the settings, I designed a 32 gig memory machine, just temporarily. This, you don't have to have 32. Again, if you don't have it, we use with what we want, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And if you guys have questions, let me know. In this machine, we need to be able to host two virtual machines, right? So just make sure you have enough CPU, memory, and disk space for those two vCPUs. I've also created 3 disks, and again, I've created these 3 disks. The disks itself, I've created them for. Let me close that off here. Sorry, guys. So I've created these 3 disks, and within these disks, I wanted to create a RAID out of them. So I've created the RAID. Right? There's another class on RAID, and so I'm not going to explain what RAID is, but we're going to, we just want to know. This is how I'm going to create it. You don't have to create it. So in a real environment, we're not going to be saving our disks. Um, We're not going to be saving our disks on the local disk itself. Typically, we save them in a vdisk. So again, these are my 2 disks, and then one's going to be my operating system, right? So I have my 2 dynamic disks, which have been already initialized and both online with a striped volume. So that's a total of 900 GB NTFS for this lab. And this is what's going to hold all my virtual machines and my virtual machine files and applications. Again, this is the right way to do it, because you have to understand that when we're creating a virtual machine, it has to be created on a LUN, right? And a LUN is just a logical unit number or remote storage from the SAN. So I will explain all this stuff to you in a bit. I just want to just kind of get you guys an idea of what this is and how this works. So it is important. Without it, virtualization it is important it is important for virtualization. Without it, you know, we don't have high availability, nor do we have disaster recovery. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're going along and as we're doing all this stuff, right? So our we have to create this on a physical disk, and I guess let me see if I can pull up the picture here. Let me create a picture quickly for you guys, just to kind of give you guys a better understanding of how this is going to work. So if I have four machines, I'm going to create these four machines. I'm going to create these four machines. I'm going to create them. So I've created these four machines, and these four machines are going to have local physical disk, a local physical disk, a local physical disk, just like any other local physical disk, right? So imagine these are your bare metal machines, and these are going to have they're going to have a local physical disk. Now, say for example, I have a SAN network, and we're just introducing the SAN network because a lot of large companies, they have this infrastructure, and yes, it is highly expensive, very expensive, and it's used widely for local area for storage area networks, right? So these SAN solutions, right? They need to connect to somewhere. We need to be able to map these somewhere, and again, these disks can be mapped over the network. But how are they mapped over the network, right? So if we're grabbing our blue cable, let's say our blue Ethernet cable. I'm gonna change the color to blue. Okay, let's say our cable is blue today, right? And again, there's multiple disks in here. Let's say there's multiple disks in here, right? There's three disks, four disks. Let's say three disks. But again, a SAN solution has thousands and hundreds, right? Just to make this a little bit more clear to you on how this solution works and on what it needs in order for it to be true. So a hypervisor, again, right? A hypervisor runs. It needs 100 disks, right? Or it needs 150 disks, or it needs 200 disks, right? So this 200, let's say 150, 200 disks, right? Right, 150, 150. Let's say 150 disks. Okay, it needs that 150 disks, right? And we're looking at each disk being 2 TB each. Okay, doesn't matter, just the fictitious number we're seeing. So right now you're looking at a total of 300 terabytes for the space, right? So this SAN solution here, the SAN solution here, right, it's got 150 disks at 2 TB. So we're gonna have 300 terabytes of physical disks to save whatever we want, right? Right. So how does creating a virtual LAN have to be created on a LAN and not on a physical disk, and why? Again, it's not professional. It isn't the right way to do it. We're in a test environment, so that's why we are doing these specific things. But imagine we have our blue cable. Okay, we have our blue cable, and if our hypervisor, and then also too as well, before I get to the blue cable, and say for example this hypervisor goes down, right? It's down. It's down. It's going nowhere. It's just an X across it, right? Um, then where those virtual disk files that are like, where are they, right? So if that hypervisor goes down, the virtual disk files are still saved, right? So that's why we want to understand what this is where we're going to get to when we talk about the LUNs, right? So um, going back to the original topic here. So if we were to create a SAN, let's say with 3 disks, for example. Okay. But in real life, it's got 150 disks. It's got rows and rows and rows upon disks, maybe 15, 20, whatever it's got, it has, right? Depends on the company and what the company can hold. And our fictitious environment, right? Our fictitious environment, we have 150 disks with 2 TB. So we have about 300 terabytes solution of storage, right? Where's all these terabytes and terabytes and terabytes going to be going to? So these machines here, um, the operating itself, right? Where we can't fit a lot of machines onto these, so they need to be shared across right? So in our environment, in large environments, you got bigger disks, right? But in our environment, we got a small disk. So in this environment, um, right, we have this solution of 200 disks, and each disk is an SSD, right, which is a solid state drive. And in our SAN environment, we can map any of these disks, as many disks as we can, or want for any hypervisor. Again, these disks can be over the network. So these disks can be run, these wires can be run over the network, right? So you have one over here, right? One over here, right? And then one over here, right? So again, they're managed across the network, right? But how do they communicate? So there is a LUN, which is a shared disk. So this is going to be created. The shared disk is going to be created, right? So we're going to create a shared disk, and I'll show you guys how to create that shared disk, right? And I'm going to color this black, right? And right, I'm going to make multiple copies of this, right? Right, I'm going to make, let's say, 3 disks for now. Just for now, doesn't matter how many we have, but we're going to create these 3 disks on top of the hypervisors, right? So we have our hypervisor, right? Let's say these are all hypervisors, right? This is your hypervisor one, right? Hypervisor two, right? Two, and hypervisor three, right? So this is our hypervisors. And again, a hypervisor, we're not talking about hypervisor one, two. We're talking about, again, these are hypervisor two. Their types are hypervisor two because based on our 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 documentation, we know that hypervisor two runs a specific way, right? So we know that our hypervisor two, right, installs on top of an operating system, right? Again, this is just for our lab. It's not recommended for professional data center environments, and we will be using this just for training and training purposes only, right? I get it. The OS does take hardware resources such as CPU, RAM, and storage, and we do use it a lot, and it takes less hardware resources than when it runs, right? So again, we have our hypervisors. These are our hypervisors. We know these are obviously this is going to be a hypervisor 2 solution. Type hypervisor 2, right? We know that, right? Now, these hypervisors obviously are sitting on top of an operating system, right? So we're sitting on top of an operating system, right? So we know that it's sitting on top of an operating system. So we know that this one has an operating system, right? Server. This one also has an operating system, and this one also has an operating system, right? And again, it's sitting on top of the hypervisor, and the hypervisors are just roles, right? So it's a role that we install, right? And that role is called Hyper-V manager. And we know that Hyper-V is a Microsoft product, right? Kind of get what's going on so far? It's pretty straightforward. It's not hard at all. Again, if there's any confusion here, just let me know. Product. Okay, we know that it's a Microsoft product, right? So that's sort of what our solution is going to be like. And again, these are LUNs, right? So we're going to create these LUNs. So this is going to be LUN one, LUN one. I'm going to make this a little darker here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, we know that, right? Okay, and I'm going to LUN one. Okay, so we know that's a LUN. And we also know that this is a LUN, right? Right. LUN two, right? And we know that LUN two or LUN 02, right? And then we also know that this is another LUN. This is LUN 3. So we know that this is a LUN 3. So so we have to kind of understand again. We know that the hypervisor 2, right? That's our hypervisor machine, right? So these are just our hypervisor machines, right? Um, our installed on a operating system. So they're on top of the operating system, right? So we know that it's not recommended, right? So if we go back to our notes together, right? Well, we are going to be using the Hyper 2 software, which is called Workstation Pro, and that's what we're using, right? Within Hyper Workstation Pro VMware, we're going to be installing 4 machines, and within those 4 machines, we're going to be installing an operating system, right? We're going to be installing a server. So in this case, I've installed Windows Server 2019. Now you can install Windows 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016, and 2022 and 2025. It's totally up to you. It's whatever you want. Pretty straightforward. You download it. I can send you the links for that if you want. Just send me a message and let me know what you're interested in, and I'll see what we can do from there. Right. So remember the differences, right? There's two types of hypervisors. There's type 1 or hypervisor 1, and then there's type 2 hypervisors, which is what we're going to be using our hub or for hypervisor 2, right? So same concept, same way of explaining. So this is directly installed directly on a bare metal machine, and again, that's what we're doing, right? We're installing it on a bare metal machine, which is our 2016 or 2019, right? So this was going to be our 2019, right? This is our 2019. This is our 2019, right? 2019, right? So again, that's what we're gonna be doing, right? So I'm gonna start drawing here, right? So that we're not using this, right? So again, this is all in our on-premises environment. All right, give it 1 sec. So we kind of have to understand again the concept of, we're logging in as the admins, we're logging into this machine, and we've installed the Workstation Pro, where we're able to create our actual local branch or data center, right? This is a typical data center, all right, via internet with an internet connection, right? Because without internet, or right, we're not able to connect to these specific machines within our environment, right? So our private environment. So again, these machines are all hypervisor machines or member machines, right? Or they could be just standalones, right? But again, it's totally up to you. And they're all running 2019. So in my environments, I like to have two of each, right? Or two or three of each, right? So it's always good to have a backup plan in case of. Again, that's my prerogative. Again, there's different scenarios and different phases which we can create. And again, these different phases are all based on their specific requirements and specific projects. So as we create these projects, we need to understand the differences between the what we're our our end goal is and how we're going to meet those goals, right? So in order to have that specific environment created or infrastructure created, and how I architect it and how I design it is also an integral part to you guys following along in this lab, right? So that when you guys are asked to do it or asked to in these specific questions and interviews, you know how to do it, right? So again, in a hypervisor 1, um, So as we move along, our hypervisors are directly on a bare metal machine, right? Um, it takes less hardware resources, right? And again, hardware resources are um, CPU, RAM, and memory, right? For it to run efficiently, right? And that's important, right? Especially um, for somebody who has a machine, and that machine needs to run efficiently in order for it to do its job, in order for it to handle the workload that it needs, or the transfer of information from one area to another area, right? So you need to be able to understand that. Um, this takes less hardware. It's fast. It is fast in terms of, um, you know, it's faster in terms of how to explain to you. So it is faster in terms of how we use it and how it's used. So like your physical machines are faster, right? Because it's fast, right? So we're not actually streaming the data from internet or whatnot, right? Um, and then again, we use it. It's fast, and we use it uh, in professional environments. Remember that, in production environments, right? Environments. Right. Sorry about the spelling, guys. I'm just going to again write this freely, and you know uh, that way it's ready, and you guys can follow along. I had to have these already pre-prepared, but again, it's easier for me to tell for you guys to follow along as I'm doing it. And then if you guys want to write it out, you guys are more than welcome to. So again, please be very mindful of how this works. So again, our machines itself, my machine is just created. Again, it's created. It's got the two network adapters. Well, this one has one, but it should have two. I think I created two. If I don't, I'll add one just in case. I should always have two. Again, each server, each company would have whatever they want. I think I have two. Yeah, see, I have two. So I'm going to um, take this machine here and copy. So this is going to be my machine, right? Your machine is going to be a little bit different, right? Just make sure you have enough memory, because when we do play along with, and I'll explain to you after how this works, and the memory we're going to be using, and how what we're not going to be doing with it. And that I'm going to show you guys what you should be doing between two machines, right? And whatnot. So and then we're also going to be adding a secondary, two other machines, or two hypervisors, so that we have two other hypervisors to work with, right? So again, in our hypervisor 2, um, it installs it installs on an operating system, right? So it installs on top of an operating system, right? Um, it's slower. It takes less hardware resources such as CPU, RAM, and memory, right? Um, right. Sorry, it takes more hardware resources, not less. It takes more. It's opposite. It takes more hardware resources. In a hypervisor 2, it is slower. It We use it for training environments. Use it for training environments, right? And the OS The OS operating system takes it. Sorry, it's not recommended for professional data centers. Uh, we are strictly using this for training purposes and training only. Okay. So that's what a hypervisor is. Again, thanks for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to message me on WhatsApp, and we'll talk soon.